Jai Hind students, you are welcome to live session of English class. Today we are going to study chapter number 3 as per your revised syllabus. The name of the chapter is Should Wizard Hit Mummy by John Updike. And so let's begin the lesson, children. And for this, first of all, we are going to discuss the main points which are important for us to understand the story. So let us see what are the main points first. I am going to share those main points on your screen first. Now students, you can see here that chapter number 3, Should Wizard Hit Mummy? And always remember that there is a question mark, and it has the after the title. Generally we don't have the question mark, but here in this chapter we can see that there is the question mark after the title, and that question mark has its own relevance. We will study later on that what is it. So Should Wizard Hit Mummy by John Updike. But you remember students that moral of the story, this story conveys a message, and that message is very strong for the reader, for all of us, which that the author wants to convey. That is, you can also write that on the top if you are having your book at this time. So on the top of the book, on the top of the lesson, that you can write the moral of the story, the message of the story, that we should not lose our originality and identity. This is the moral of the story. We will discuss more about it later on. Now let us discuss the important point first. Now here you can see that main points about the author which has been given. And so first of all, that there are these 6 points generally we find in any of the story, that these are the points, especially that last 5: introduction, theme, title, message and character. So if we have understood these points of any of the story, then definitely we will be able to understand the story well. And generally long answer type questions are asked on the basis of this 5 points in any of the story. So whenever you are going to study any of the story, any of the prose, then you must focus on these 5 points. Now let us discuss that. First of all, let us know a little about the author John Updike. John Updike is an American writer. He is his most famous work is his Rabbit series. He has written many Rabbit series like Rabbit Run, Rabbit Redux, Rabbit is Rich, Rabbit at Rest. These are called the Rabbit series. And Rabbit is Rich and Rabbit at Rest both won Pulitzer Prizes for Updike. He describes his subject as the American small town Protestant middle class. And John Updike is well known for his careful craftsmanship and prolific writing. Means he was not confined to one particular literary composition. Rather, he has he has created many literary works And he has published 22 novels and more than a dozen short story collections, as well as poetry, literary criticism, and children's books. So, hundreds of his stories, reviews, and poems have appeared in the New Yorker since the 1950s. Though students' questions will not be asked about the author in your board examination, but we should know, we should have a little knowledge about the author also. So that's why it is about that. Now let us come to the second point, introduction. To study any of the chapter, it is very important to know the introduction of the chapter so that we can have better understanding of the chapter. So here it is, the introduction. Should Wizard Hit Mummy by John Updike seems to be a simple children's story, but it is very serious in intent, as it raises a difficult moral question. And what is that difficult moral question? Why is it that individuality is rebuffed, individuality is stopped and even frowned upon? That is a serious question which this story raises. It also brings home the point that the world of fantasy is always different from the world of reality. Remember, students, the world of fantasy is always different from the world of reality. This story highlights this point as well. So here, as much as character concerned, we will come later on, but some important characters are there: Jack and Joe, where Jack is father, Joe is 4-year daughter of Jack. These two are the important characters. When we will come to that point, we will discuss about this. And as much as story concern, so 3 important characters are there in the story. That is Roser Skunk, who is the hero of the story, and Old Owl, and Wizard, the magician, and after that another one is Skunk's mother. These characters are there. We will study later on. So let us see that when we are talking about the introduction, so Jack tells his daughter Joe the story of bad smelling Roser Skunk. Roser Skunk, which is a tiny animal, and his name is Roser, and he is bad smelling. A wizard makes Roser's skunk smell like roses, and Roser's mother is not happy, believing that he must smell and behave like a skunk. So she goes to the wizard and hits him over his head for what he has done to her son. And the wizard makes the skunk smell bad again. So Joe feels that it is not the proper ending of the story. It was Joe's opinion, who was just 4-year-old. The wizard should hit back, she thinks, but Jack refuses to change the ending of the story, because it is his way of telling Joe that this is how the world goes, and individuality should be valued. One's individuality should be prized. When Roser Skunk begins to smell bad again, the other animals accept him as he is with his bad smell with the passage of time. This is about the introduction of the story. Now let us come to the next point, that is the theme of the story, and which is very important, this third point, theme. And when we talk about the theme, through this story, the author John Updike wants to convey that everyone has a stamp of uniqueness, everyone has a quality, a trait of uniqueness, means everyone in this world is unique, and everyone has his own identity and individuality. This uniqueness and individuality should be valued and always protected. If one loses one's identity, it means that one loses one's freedom. Means by losing our own identity, our own originality, our own uniqueness, one cannot enjoy the freedom of life. So Roser skunk is a bad smelling creature. So he is unhappy as no one likes to play with him. And with the help of the wizard's magic, he begins to smell like roses, means he got a sweet smell like roses. And now he feels very happy as everyone begins to like him and everyone begins to play with him, because that he was smelling like roses. He had a pleasant smell. However, his mother dislikes his smelling like roses. Now see the point, children, that everyone likes his good smell like roses, but and he himself, skunk himself, is very happy with the pleasant smell of roses, but his mother does not like it, and she wants a skunk to smell like a skunk. Why? Because its originality, its uniqueness and originality, individuality of a skunk race is in danger. That is, which is their identity. They are skunk, that tiny creature, that creature is being recognized because of its bad smelling. And when he gets the good smelling like roses, that his original identity is missed, and that's why he does not understand the importance of its original smell, roser skunk, but this has been realized by his mother. And so she compels wizard to make roser skunk smell as bad as before. And strangely enough, that other creatures slowly reconcile with roser skunk's smell, means rest of the animals have also accepted his bad smelling and stop avoiding him. Thus, the writer wants to establish that one should always maintain and protect one's individuality, because their individuality, their uniqueness is their identity. And this could be understood by skunk's mother. And now children, let's come to the another important point, that is the title. And the title is also very important, and in this case, as much as this story, Should Wizard Hit mummy concern because there is a question mark after the title. So that's why this title has become even more relevant and more important. So let us see that why this title has been given a question mark in the end by the author. So the title of the story, Should Wizard Hit Mummy, and after that there is a question mark, is very appropriate because it revolves around the wizard, Rose's skunk, and skunk's mummy. Basically these three characters it moves around. Rose's skunk smells very bad, and no woodland creatures, no creatures who live in the forest likes to play with him because of his bad smelling. And when he goes to the wizard and tells him his problem, the wizard, means the magician, listens to it and brings out his magic wand and tries to solve his problem. He asks him what he wants to smell like. So Rosa says that he wants to smell like roses, which is a pleasant, a sweet smell. The wizard utters some strange words, and Rosa's skunk begins to smell like roses. When he goes back home, his mother gets angry. And she always thinks about to maintain the originality. So she says that he must smell the way a skunk should. So she takes her child to the wizard and hits him on his head and asks him to restore his original smell. And that original smell was stinky smell, bad smell. And so the wizard agrees, he does not have any problem, and Roser skunk begins to smell very bad again. But Joe, who is listening to this story, does not like Rose's mother hitting the wizard on his head and forcing him to make Roser smell stinky again, bad again. So she asked her mother, the Joe asks her father to change the ending of the story, and she thinks that the wizard's act was good and appreciative, and for which he should be rewarded. But she feels that Roser's mother should be hit on the head for hitting the wizard and forcing him to change the good smell into bad one of Roser's skunk. Remember, students, she is a child of 4. She lives in the world of fantasy, and she does not realize the reality of life. She is not that much matured, and that's why that she lives in the world of fantasy, where there is no place for any kind of ugliness, for any kind of bad smelling. She always wants that her hero, who is the Rosa skunk, who was the hero of the story, she always wants that her hero should look good, should smell good. And that's why her thinking was quite different from the Jack's thinking, who is the matured one, adult, and who realized the reality of life. And since Joe is quite innocent and simple, and so her solution is also very simple. But her father disapproves of her suggestion. He wants to emphasize that mothers are always right and therefore the action of Skunk's mother is right and appreciate. Thus, we find that there is a difference of opinion. Now, remember, student, this is very important point. And in this way, that we find that there is a difference of opinion between Jo and her father. Hence, the question mark given to the title of the story, Should Wizard Hit Mummy, is very apt and appropriate. And now the author has left it upon the readers to decide that whose opinion was correct, the Jack's opinion, Jack's ending of the story, or the Joe's ending of the story. That's why the title of the story, Should Wizard Hit Mummy, with the question mark, is quite logical, appropriate, and suitable. Now, students, let's move to the next point, that is the message. Since we have covered this message in these points when we talked about the theme, but even though that let's see that message, what is the message of the story in short. So through this story, Should Wizard Hit Mummy, the author John Updike wants to convey that one should always protect one's identity and individuality, because everyone has a quality of uniqueness, and this uniqueness should be valued and always be maintained. If one loses, now further the author wants to convey that if one loses one's identity, one's uniqueness, one's individuality, it means that one loses one's freedom. And the author also conveys that the means another point, another message we can see through the story, that the author conveys that children have their own views and attitudes, and the adults should not impose their view on children, because they should be allowed to express their own opinions and views. They should be allowed to have the freedom of their own opinion. That is, so message is quite clear, students, generally, that from this chapter, that the question is asked from its a message and title. Remember this 2 point you must take care of. And now that let us talk about the character. Finally, student, this is also very important. If you will be able to cover all these points, almost the story will be clear to you. Even then you will study story yourself, even though you will be able to understand each and everything. So let us see about the characters. Something we have already discussed, but now we are going to study once again. 2 characters are important. That there are 2 points. One is that those who tells the story, like Jack, and Jo, means actually her name is Johnny, and then these 2 characters are important. First, so let us take first the character of Jack. Who is Jack? Who is a good story teller, and he is quite imaginative and innovative. Jack, remember students, that he is a good storyteller because he is quite imaginative, he is quite innovative, and he has a simple basic plot and a few characters, but each new story has a variation of a basic tale which he brings, and he tells the story always in a unique way. And when he tells the story, one thing is quite common, that is roser, means a small creature, that is a roser, and who has some kind of problem and goes with it to a wise owl, and he tries to solve it. So when he tells any story, he is very expressive. You know that he changes his voice according to the demand of the story, and whenever it is required, then he changes his expression in order to bring the practicality in the character, in this way that he Jack's way of telling story is very entertaining and educative. And through this story, when we will study the story, we will learn more about that. And the second important means Jack is the most important character of the story. You just need to keep in your mind. He is a loving father. He is very much emotionally attached with his daughter Jo. And whenever he tells this story, he tells her stories to entertain, not only to entertain, rather to educate her as well. He wants her to understand that the real world differs from the world of fantasies. He believes in protecting and preserving one's individuality, and he disgusted with the way of with the way his wife wants to impose her lifestyle on him. He also believes on individuality. Remember, students, his wife Claire, at the end of the story we will also see that is one important point, the difference of opinion that of his wife and Jack, which brings him into the into a middle position, which is a difficult situation, which is very difficult for him to decide what to do. So we will study that later on in the end of the story. And here we find that finally that Jack is an affectionate father. He is an excellent storyteller, and he is very imaginative, innovative and expressive, and he wants to live life his life in his own way. That is about the Jack's character. Now another point, another character which we can discuss, which we can say that this is, and Jack is the protagonist of the story, means main character of the story. So what you have to do, you will also have to study the character sketch of Jack and Joe separately. And as much as Joe concerned, Joe is a sensitive girl, and she did not like Rose's mother hitting Rose's mother hitting the wizard that who changed his character, his smell. And she is also very intent, very eager listener. She listens story when Jack, her father, tells a story. She is completely involved in this story. So we can say she is an avid listener. She is a patient listener. And sometimes she interrupts her father and asks, that she is very curious as well, that she asks raises intelligent questions during the story. And Joe is that tells that she is very curious. She asks very logical and rational questions. We will see later on that few of the examples that when she asks that are magic spells real, or is God really exist, something like that, these questions uh, she asks, which tells that she is very curious. So on the whole, we can see that Joe is a sensitive, intelligent, and very curious girl who is an avid listener, a patient listener as well. Now, students, all these points, since we have covered all these important points today, so what we have to do is that these are the important points as much as this chapter concerns should wizard hit mummy. So if you have understood these important points, that story will become easier. All these points I have discussed with you because that generally questions short answer type or long answer type, especially long answer type questions are asked from these areas. And uh, if since we have covered all these important points, now it will be easier for us to understand the story well. So student, that's all for today, and uh, next day we will start our story. And till then, thank you and have a nice day.